Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. In this video, we're talking about First Certificate Speaking Part 2. During the video, there are some great tips on how to do Part 2 and a chance for you to have a practice doing it yourself. And remember, if you're studying for a Cambridge exam or you want to know any more about it, I highly recommend subscribing to Home Studies. And I invite you to turn on the notifications so you don't miss any new videos and give us a like. As we went over in the last video, there are 4 parts in the FCE speaking test, which all assess different speaking skills. In this video, we're going to take a closer look at part 2, or the long turn. So in FCE speaking part 2, you will compare 2 photographs and answer a question about them, and this takes about 1 minute. Then you'll answer a question about your partner's photographs, and this response should be between 20 and 30 seconds. So a lot of students confuse this part of the speaking exam with the B1 exam. Now here are the differences. In the B1 preliminary, your task is to describe a single photo. In the B2 first, your task is to compare 2 photos and answer a question about them. Now, they are partially testing you on the same thing, which is discourse management, or in other words, fluency. But the language being tested is different. In B1, you're being tested on using appropriate adjectives and describing present actions using the present continuous. But in the B2, you're being tested on comparing and giving opinions. Now, if you describe the pictures in the B2 exam, we don't get to see your B2 language, so we can't give you full marks. So it's super important not to describe the photos, but to compare the photos and then to give your opinions and speculate about the photos. So, like in part 1, throughout the video, I'm going to give you some examiner tips. And my first tip in this part is sit up, which might sound strange, but so many people look at the photos on the table and forget to look up and sit up. Now, body language still matters in the speaking exam, and you'll feel much more at ease if you sit up and if you look at us. And also, we're trying to encourage you with smiles and nods to help you relax. So we want to be able to see your faces. It's also really difficult for us to understand you completely if you've got your head down staring at the photographs. And if you think about it, it's not very natural to stare at a table when you speak to somebody. So by sitting up, you'll feel much more relaxed and you'll be much more natural when you're speaking. So this is a really good tip. Sit up. Okay, so we're speaking about part 2, but what does it look like? Well, this is what it looks like. You've got 2 photographs and then you have a question. Why might the people have chosen to eat food in these places? So the place on the left is a restaurant and the place on the right is at home. So we're going to talk about why might the people have chosen to eat food in a restaurant or at home. But how do I do this part, you're asking? Well, actually, it's not quite as scary as it seems. So the first thing you'll do is compare the photos. And then you'll answer the question. Here's another little tip. This is for the examiner too, because if you answer like this, it makes it so much easier for the examiner to hear the skills we're listening for and to be able to tick our can-do statements like, can they use comparisons well? Can they use language of speculation? So we love candidates who make our job a bit easier and we don't have to search for all the things that we have to grade. Just something to bear in mind. Another examiner tip. If you need a moment to think, start with one of these time fillers. What an interesting question. Well, let's have a look. Let me see. Great question. It's difficult to say. This gives you a second to start preparing what you want to say to answer the question. So as I explained before, we're going to start with the comparing part. So we're going to compare the two pictures. So here we go. In the picture on the left, I see people eating in a restaurant, whereas in the picture on the right, I can see people enjoying a pizza at home. In both photos, I can tell that the people are enjoying their experience as they're smiling. The people in the restaurant will be having a more formal experience, while the people at home will be more comfortable and informal. So you can see here that I've underlined some comparing phrases. Which ones are phrases for similarities and which ones are phrases for contrasting? So here we go, we've got some phrases for similarities, like in both pictures, likewise, as well, and also. And we've got our phrases for contrasting, so on the other hand, while, whereas, however, or but. Now, it's a really great idea to brush up on your comparison language before the exam, and feel free to contact Home Studies if you need any help with this. Right, so we've compared the photos. What's next? We're going to answer the question. So the question is, why might people have chosen to eat food in these places? So we're going to have a little brainstorm now. Why might people have chosen to eat in a restaurant and why might people have chosen to eat at home? So can you pause the video and think of 3 reasons why they would eat in a restaurant and 3 reasons why they would eat at home? Press play when you're ready to check your answers. Okay, so I got for a restaurant, you'd probably eat there for a special occasion like a birthday or an anniversary, on holiday to try the local cuisine, and if you have a specific food craving, like if you're desperate for some sushi or something. Now, you're more likely to eat at home if you want a more intimate experience, maybe to talk with your friends or a partner. Or maybe it might be a slightly sad occasion, like somebody's broken up with somebody. Or if you just want to be quiet and comfortable and in your pajamas, you're probably going to eat at home. So now we've got some ideas, let's think about language we can use to speculate. A great way to speculate is to use modal verbs. For example, they might be celebrating a birthday. We can also use adverbs like perhaps they're having a sleepover. We can use verbs like look. They look happy because they're smiling. And verbs like I think are great verbs for speculating. So I think they are feeling relaxed and happy. So now pause the video and try to think of some more for each column. Press play when you're ready to check your answers. Okay, let's check together. So with modal verbs, we also got may, could, must, or can't. More adverbs, maybe or possibly. Verbs of speculation, we also have seem or appear. And verbs of opinion, believe, imagine, and suppose. These are all great pieces of language to use in this part of the exam. And it's exactly what the examiner is listening for. A little tip. So we've got our language and we've got our ideas. Let's put them together. Another tip, take your time. This is not a race. Just breathe and speak naturally. Like this. In the first picture, the family seems to be on holiday as they are eating outside next to the sea. People might choose to eat here because I imagine you'd be able to eat fresh fish cooked with expertise, which might not be possible at home. Or they could be celebrating a special occasion, maybe somebody's birthday. In the second picture, they must have ordered a takeaway because we can see the pizza box. Maybe they've chosen to eat at home so they can have a sleepover and talk together about their lives in private. Perhaps one of them has a problem they need help with. They're wearing long-sleeve tops, so it might be that it's winter and they'd prefer just to stay at home than go out into the cold weather too. So, you've answered the question, and next the examiner will ask your partner a question about your photos. And you want to spend about 20 seconds answering this part, because the same will happen to you. After your partner has compared their photos, you'll be asked a question, like this. Do you like eating in restaurants? Why or why not? And here's an example answer. Not really, no. I prefer cooking myself because then I know exactly what goes in my food. I'm a bit particular about what I eat. Also, I find restaurants quite noisy and distracting. I prefer eating at home in peace and quiet. Another tip. Anyone speaking any language can make a mistake, even when you speak your mother tongue language. The trick is not to let it affect your performance. I remember a candidate once saying, "In the morning, I go into the chicken and make a coffee." Oh no, oops, I mean kitchen. She laughed and carried on, and it didn't affect her score at all, because we'd rather you corrected your error than you didn't, because it shows us that you know when you've made a mistake. It's actually a great skill to be able to self-correct and reflect. And if you make a mistake, don't worry. Take a breath, smile, correct yourself, just carry on. Okay, now it's your turn. Get a timer ready and set it to 1 minute. You can use an egg timer like in the photo or use the timer on your phone. Here's a tip. Don't watch the timer. Have an alarm so it makes a noise when you finish, and this will help you to understand and feel how long a minute is. Now, here are your photographs. They show people doing something in their free time. I'd like you to compare the photographs and tell me why you think the people are enjoying these experiences. Okay, so pause the video and give yourself a minute to answer, and press play when you're ready to hear my example answer. Off you go. So in the first picture, people are sitting in the cinema, and in the second picture, people are playing in the park. Now, there's a difference here, obviously, because one is indoor and one is outdoor. I would say that the cinema you can do any day, whereas in the park, you probably need a nice day. It'd be much nicer if you had a nice sunny day to do something like that. I think people are enjoying these experiences for different reasons. I think that at the cinema, you're cozy, you're warm, you're comfortable, and you can completely escape from reality for a couple of hours. And then afterwards, you can talk to your friends about what you watched and discuss it. Whereas in the second picture, you're outside, you're running about, your heart's pounding, your endorphins are going, and you're playing as part of a team, which again has its own special quality about it. And maybe you're playing with your family or your friends, so you're having a good laugh as well at the same time. Now the examiner will ask you a question about your partner's photographs, like this. Do you prefer to spend your free time inside or outside? Why? Pause the video and answer the question. Press play when you're ready to check my answer. Off you go. In general, I prefer to spend my free time outside because I spend a lot of my working day inside. Every day I try to get out for a walk, a swim in the sea, or even just spend some time on my balcony. Being outside is very important for your health, in my opinion. So you've had some excellent tips in this video, and here are a few more practice ideas. So you can download our free practice pack for extra practice in speaking part 2. And then when you have that, you set a timer and record yourself speaking for 1 minute. Don't forget to listen to it back like in part 1 because this really helps your pronunciation and fluency. And you can always contact Home Studies for a free FCE trial lesson. Thank you so much for watching our video and we hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe and we'll see you next time.